Sophia Harrison had always been the type of woman who believed in love. She believed in the kind of love that built homes, families, and futures. For 5 years, she thought she'd found it with her boyfriend, Lucas Graham. Lucas was charming, successful, and attentive. At least, that's what she'd thought when they first started dating. But over time, Lucas had started to change. The man who had once left sweet notes on her pillow and held her hand during long walks now seemed distant, distracted, and increasingly critical. At first, Sophia dismissed it as the natural ebb and flow of a relationship. Everyone went through rough patches, didn't they? But the cracks in their relationship grew wider with each passing day. It started with small comments. Lucas would point out the way she styled her hair or the outfits she wore, his tone laced with an edge of condescension. "You'd look better if you tried harder," he'd say, or, "Why do you always wear that color? It washes you out." Sophia brushed it off, determined not to let his remarks affect her confidence. But then, the comments became sharper. One evening, as they were getting ready to meet friends for dinner, Lucas glanced at her reflection in the mirror and muttered, "You know, you're lucky I'm still with you." Not many men would stick around for someone so average. The words hit her like a slap. Average? The man who had once called her beautiful now made her feel invisible. She wanted to confront him, to demand an explanation for his sudden cruelty, but she swallowed her anger and smiled through the pain. She told herself that Lucas was just stressed from work, that this phase would pass. But deep down, a small voice whispered that something was wrong. Sophia's worst fears were confirmed one rainy Tuesday evening. Lucas had left his phone on the kitchen counter while he stepped into the shower, and as she walked past, a notification lit up the screen. It was a message from someone named Jessie, and the words made her stomach churn. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Hope she doesn't suspect anything. Red heart." Sophia froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she shouldn't, but her trembling hands picked up the phone, and she unlocked it with the passcode she knew all too well. What she found in his messages shattered her world. There were dozens of texts between Lucas and Jessie, filled with flirtation, declarations of love, and plans to meet. But what hurt the most weren't the messages about Jessie. It was the way Lucas spoke about her, Sophia, to this other woman. "She's so clueless," one message read. "Honestly, I can't stand looking at her half the time. She's let herself go, and I don't even know why I'm still with her. She's so needy and pathetic," another said. "Jessie, you're the only one who makes me feel alive." Sophia felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. It wasn't just the betrayal of the affair, it was the humiliation. Lucas had reduced her to a joke, a burden, a shadow of the woman she had thought she was. Her hands trembled as she placed the phone back on the counter, her mind spinning with a mix of anger, heartbreak, and disbelief. When Lucas came out of the shower, she confronted him, her voice shaking with emotion. "How long?" she demanded, holding back tears. Lucas froze, his towel draped around his shoulders. "What are you talking about? How long have you been seeing her?" she spat, her voice rising. "Jessie, how long have you been lying to me?" For a moment, Lucas looked genuinely panicked. But then, as if flipping a switch, his expression turned cold. "So what if I am?" he said, his tone indifferent. "You're not exactly a prize, Sophia. Maybe if you spent less time whining and more time taking care of yourself, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere." The cruelty in his words cut deeper than any knife. Sophia stared at him, her chest heaving, unable to believe the man she had loved for so long was capable of such venom. Without another word, she grabbed her coat and walked out the door, the sound of the rain mirroring the storm inside her. In the days that followed, Sophia replayed Lucas's words over and over in her mind. Why had he not only cheated on her, but also resorted to such cruel humiliation? What had she done to deserve such treatment? She couldn't make sense of it, so she turned to the people she trusted most, her best friends Emily and Claire. As they sat around Sophia's apartment with glasses of wine in hand, Emily shook her head in disbelief. "Men like Lucas are cowards," she said firmly. "They can't own up to their own mistakes, so they tear you down to justify their actions." Claire nodded in agreement. "It's classic projection. He felt guilty about cheating, so instead of facing that guilt, he decided to make you the problem. It's easier for him to believe you're unworthy than to admit he's the one who failed. Sophia listened, their words providing a small measure of comfort. But even as her friends assured her she wasn't to blame, she couldn't shake the feeling that Lucas had taken something from her, her confidence, her dignity, her sense of self-worth. She decided she couldn't let him have the last word. If Lucas thought he could humiliate her and walk away unscathed, he was sorely mistaken. Sophia began to rebuild herself piece by piece. She started therapy to unpack the emotional toll Lucas's words had taken on her, and she threw herself into her work, finding solace in her career. But she also began to plan her revenge, not out of spite, but as a way to reclaim her power. Lucas had always prided himself on his professional reputation. He worked as a real estate agent, and his image as a trustworthy, charming professional was everything to him. Sophia decided to hit him where it hurt the most. She began gathering evidence of his infidelity, screenshots of his messages with Jesse, photos he had sent, and even receipts from their outings. Once she had everything she needed, she created an anonymous email account and sent the evidence to his boss, his clients, and even Jessie herself. The fallout was immediate. Lucas was called into his office for a disciplinary meeting where his behavior was deemed unprofessional and damaging to the company's reputation. Several of his clients dropped him, and Jessie, upon realizing she wasn't his only side piece, cut ties with him as well. Lucas's carefully constructed image crumbled, and Sophia felt a sense of vindication. She wasn't the weak, helpless woman he had tried to make her believe she was. She was strong, capable, and unwilling to let him walk away without consequences. With Lucas out of her life, Sophia focused on rebuilding herself from the ground up. She started attending yoga classes, traveling to places she'd always dreamed of, and exploring new hobbies. Slowly but surely, she began to rediscover the vibrant, confident woman she had been before Lucas dimmed her light. One evening, as she was reading in a cozy cafe, a man approached her table. He introduced himself as Daniel, and they struck up an easy conversation about books and travel. Unlike Lucas, Daniel was kind, attentive, and genuine. He didn't make her feel small. Instead, he made her feel seen. As their relationship blossomed, Sophia realized that the scars Lucas had left on her heart were healing. She no longer questioned her worth or blamed herself for his betrayal. She had grown stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And when she looked back on her time with Lucas, she didn't feel anger or regret. She felt gratitude for the lessons she had learned, for the strength she had gained, and for the life she was now building on her own terms. The woman Lucas had tried to break was gone. In her place was someone unstoppable. Sophia thought she had closed the chapter on Lucas and moved on for good. But life, she quickly learned, has a way of reopening old wounds when you least expect it. 6 months after her carefully orchestrated revenge left Lucas's life in tatters, she received an unexpected email. The subject line read, "Can we talk?" Sophia stared at the screen, her pulse quickening. The email was from Lucas. Against her better judgment, she opened it. "Sophia, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need to say this. I've had a lot of time to think about the way I treated you, and I realize now just how much I hurt you. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm sorry. You didn't deserve the things I said, and you didn't deserve the way I acted. I don't know how to undo the damage I caused, but I'd like the chance to make amends. Can we meet? Just once. If not, I understand. Lucas." Sophia closed her laptop, her mind racing. Part of her wanted to delete the email and move on. What good could possibly come from seeing him again? But another part of her, the part that still carried the scars of his cruelty, wanted to hear him out. She wanted to look him in the eye and see if his remorse was real. After 2 days of deliberation, she replied, "One meeting. Public place. That's all I'll agree to." When the day of the meeting arrived, Sophia chose a cafe near her apartment, a place she felt comfortable and safe. Lucas was already seated when she arrived, and the sight of him stirred a strange mix of emotions. He looked different, thinner, more tired, as though the weight of the past few months had taken a toll on him. "Thank you for coming," he said as she sat down. Sophia folded her arms, her expression neutral. "I'm here. Say what you need to say." Lucas took a deep breath, his hands fidgeting with the edge of his coffee cup. "I owe you an apology," he began. "I know I treated you terribly. I cheated, I lied, and I said things to you that were unforgivable. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I was insecure, maybe I was trying to deflect my own guilt. Whatever the reason, it doesn't excuse what I did." Sophia watched him closely, searching for any hint of manipulation or insincerity. But his tone was steady, his gaze unwavering. For the first time, it seemed like he was being honest. "I lost everything because of my actions," Lucas continued. "My job, my relationship with Jesse, my reputation. But losing you was the hardest part. I didn't realize how much you meant to me until it was too late." Sophia felt a pang of sadness, but she quickly pushed it aside. "Lucas, I appreciate your apology," she said firmly. "But you need to understand something. Your words nearly broke me. For months, I believed I wasn't good enough because of the things you said. It took me a long time to rebuild myself, and I'm not going to let you drag me back into the past." Lucas nodded, his expression somber. "I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me, and I don't expect us to ever be what we were. I just needed to tell you how sorry I am." Sophia stood, signaling that the conversation was over. "I hope you've learned something from all of this," she said. "But I've moved on, Lucas. And so should you." As she walked away, she felt a sense of closure. Lucas's apology didn't erase the pain he had caused, but it validated the strength she had found in herself. She had faced him, and she had come out stronger. Life with Daniel was everything Sophia had hoped for: kind, stable, and full of love. He treated her with a level of respect and care she had never experienced before, and for the first time in years, she felt truly safe in a relationship. But as their connection deepened, Sophia found herself wrestling with fears she couldn't quite shake. Lucas's betrayal had left scars that hadn't fully healed, and she often found herself doubting Daniel's sincerity, even when he gave her no reason to. One evening, as they were cooking dinner together, Sophia couldn't hold back any longer. "Daniel," she said, setting down her glass of wine, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said, his eyes warm and attentive. "Have you ever cheated on someone?" The words felt heavy as they left her lips, and she immediately regretted asking. Daniel's brow furrowed, and he set down the knife he was using to chop vegetables. "Sophia, no. I've never cheated." "Why would you ask that?" Sophia hesitated, unsure of how to explain. "It's not about you," she said finally. "It's about me. Lucas destroyed my trust, and I'm still trying to rebuild it. But sometimes, I can't help wondering if I'm setting myself up to get hurt again." Daniel reached across the counter and took her hand in his. "Sophia, I'm not Lucas," he said gently. "I know what he did to you, and I know it's hard to let go of that pain. But I promise you, I'm here for the long haul. I won't hurt you the way he did." Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes, and she squeezed his hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm trying to trust again. It's just hard." Daniel nodded. "I get it. And I'll be here every step of the way." For the first time, Sophia felt a flicker of hope. Maybe trust was something she could rebuild, slowly but surely, with the right person by her side. Over the next year, Sophia fully embraced the new chapter of her life. She and Daniel moved in together, and their relationship flourished as they built a home filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. Sophia also began to thrive professionally. Her career in marketing took off, and she earned a promotion that allowed her to lead her own team. She found joy in her work, her relationship, and the friendships she had nurtured along the way. But the true testament to her growth came when she unexpectedly ran into Lucas again. It happened at a networking event for local professionals. Sophia was there with her colleagues, mingling and exchanging ideas, when she spotted him across the room. He looked much the same, though his confident air seemed muted, almost subdued. For a moment, their eyes met, and Lucas gave her a small nod of acknowledgement. Sophia nodded back, But she felt no anger, no sadness, no lingering pain. She simply felt nothing. That was when she realized she was free. Lucas no longer had power over her. His betrayal had shaped her, but it hadn't defined her. She had rebuilt herself into someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, and someone who wouldn't settle for anything less than the love she deserved. As Sophia turned back to her colleagues, she smiled to herself. Her past was behind her, and her future was brighter than ever. For the first time, she felt fully at peace. And that was all the closure she needed.